Hey guys, I know it's been a while and I have to apologise for the lack of recent videos. I've just been incredibly busy, mainly with school and other commitments outside of school, so I just really haven't had time to, I guess, shoot some videos and mainly upload them due to an internet connection. So I just thought I would do this and then put the others that I didn't quite upload yet due to my internet connection. I would just wait until after this video because they'll probably make more sense. Obviously if this one comes first after those three all suddenly appear at once. So yeah, I'll put this up and then put the other ones up soon. But yes, anyway, I thought I would do kind of a different video today. I haven't really done a lot of look at tech recently, well, I guess more than DJ stuff, but I thought just a completely different topic to what I've had normally. So nonetheless, what I've got here are two computers. One is a client and one is a server, and I thought I'd just do sort of a mini tutorial slash knowledge video on basic networking within Windows domains. Now of course you can have a networking system across many different platforms. You've got Mac, you've got Linux and Windows as well of course, but I think for purposes and demonstration purposes in this video anyway, I'm just going to show the Windows system because it's probably the easiest to understand out of the three, now that Apple's done something weird with theirs, and Linux is probably, it's good and it's customizable and it's used in, well, I'd say the majority of servers are based on Linux slash Unix, mainly because of their just integrity and reliability, but for ease of use I would say Windows Server comes bar none in this case. So anyway, what I've got here is a server computer, this old Dell machine, and another Dell machine running a client system, so I've got XP there, and Server 2008 R2 on this computer as well. Now, if you're new to this whole thing, you might be wondering, well hang on a minute, what is a client and what is a server, what's a network, all of that stuff, because if you're not even into computers and that, you want to know some more about that. Basically, server is what it is. It dishes out information on a network. Basically, in most environments the server is going to be your central computer and you have loads of client computers individually connected to the server computer. Information is sent between them, but generally in most cases, like at schools and that, you will have one server that has all of the profile data on it, all of the user profile slash user data, most cases the apps as well, logs and all of that stuff. So servers can do a variety of things. There's not just one kind of server, you can have many different kinds. What runs websites, that's servers as well, in most cases. If not a virtual server, it's running on some sort of server anyway. There's web servers, there's directory servers, which act sort of as a map for the whole network that computers can tap into whenever they like. You've also got numerous other servers, such as media servers for sharing out files, file servers, that's another one for again dishing out files across the network. Application servers in some cases of apps like Microsoft Exchange or something like that, where you've got transfer between clients and servers. You get the picture. There are many different kinds of servers, there's not just one specific generic thing. You can set roles on different servers, and in bigger organisations what you'll have is you'll have a master controlling server with a load of what are called nodes underneath that, so that's N-O-D-E. That's basically just servers within a server which sort of help to spread out the processing of that. So anyway, that's how it will work with there. And then you've got the client computers obviously. These are just basically suckers off the server. They take information off the server. They are what your end user is going to use. So say a normal person at school, employee at workplace, you'll find client computers, and generally, unless in really weird circumstances, you will have overwhelmingly client computers instead of servers. In some cases about 100 clients to maybe a couple servers, and that's how it works anyway, like that. So you've got your client and your server, so that's the main thing. Network is just the device between them that connects them, I guess. Many clients are on a network with a server, and there are various different devices. You'll find in your house you will have normally a wireless router. That is a form of a network that you are connected to. Obviously you're using various different networks. You've got a local network, which is generally inside a house. You've got a WAN, a wide area network, which is basically the internet is a wider form of a WAN, but you'll find if you are connected to, say, a school network, I'm just using that as an example, or a major corporations network, you'll find that across various different buildings and even places you will have a WAN network, so that's wide. And then of course you've got the internet, which everyone connects to, whether it be on a device such as this or any of these devices anyway. So that is basically the types of networks you can have. So let's move on and look at our example of Windows Server and a Windows client. So here we have got Server 2008 running, Server 2008 R2 even running on this Dell Optiplex 745, because people just asked the computer, so there it is. So that's just your standard system. It's got 4 gigs of RAM, Pentium D dual core. That's plenty for a server if you're only going to be doing very few clients. So dependent on the clients, and that again, this is something companies look at, whether they need a powerful server or just one that will help dishing out files. So in this case I've gone for just a computer that I had lying around, and it is capable of running it. It's basically the system requirements are very similar to that of Windows 7 because it is the server operating system variant of Windows 7. Now the Windows server system operates on a domain basis within something that's called Active Directory. Think of Active Directory as like your map. I did mention directory servers earlier. It's what is used to map devices to a network, the main underlying framework. Think of it as society in general. You've got your underlying framework, then you've got each computer coming off either side of it, but that is basically the underlying foundation layer, if you like, of the network. In Windows they call it a domain system within the Active Directory system. Now don't get this confused with a website domain name such as bbc.co.uk or somewhere like that. It's the same principle is applied. Basically what you're doing is you're giving your network a name, so I've called mine home in this case. You're giving your network a name so it can be mapped, and then generally your server is going to have something called a domain name server on it. Congratulations, you're probably now knowing what a domain name server is just by the name. It is serving the domain, and what it does is it maps each computer to a specific address. So say if you type in server.local, it will map that to an IP address on the server, and it's just easier generally for you to type something that you can probably remember, a memorable word, as opposed to typing a series of numbers like 192.168.0.1. That's generally cases of most home router servers or all of that type of thing. So anyway, that is what a domain is. It's just basically what Windows sees as the underlying foundation layer of the network in which all devices can connect to, and they can be recognized off. So that is your domain. And on Windows Server anyway, it's mainly heavily based around connecting to a domain within the network, although the server as well can be programmed to function along in many different roles. So anyway, let's take a look. Now I do apologise if you can't really see much because of this scratch on the screen there. I just picked an old screen, so that's generally what I'm using at the moment. So what we've got here is the server manager. Now this is the main function center of the server. You can select what it's doing, you can add new features, you can change domain, you can basically change all of your server settings here. So if we scroll down, we will see we have 3 of 17 possible roles installed. I've got the Active Directory domain services and the DNS server installed, along with Windows deployment services. Now this, I'll just explain what deployment services does. It is basically the way that companies and schools use to deploy, as such, the Windows operating system across numerous client devices. Now this is normally done over something called pre-boot execution, which it basically, you may have seen in your BIOS, you've got network booting. You boot off the network, it connects to the server, downloads the Windows 7 install information, whatever version of Windows you're using, and you can install Windows off the network. Now I've done this here, so if I've got a few Windows devices here, if any of them were to fail and I need to reinstall Windows, instead of having to download a file each time and burn it to a disk or a USB stick or something like that, I just fire up this server and boot into the installer on the client, and there we go, just done, simple as that. I'll show you how to do that in a second, but first anyway, that is what the deployment services does. However, you can also add many other roles in the server as well. If we go through here, we've got Active Directory, DHCP, that's basically an IP addressing, all of that as well, so the server can function as a router as such. So it basically will give each device on the network an IP address, which would normally be done on your home network by the router box that you have there. You've got fax, file, Hyper-V, or I don't know what that is, or web server, internet information services. So yes, you can see you've got many different types of servers and all of that, policies and that type of thing here as well, and you can just go and simply install them as easy as anything. I mean, let's go and do that. So that's got all of that, and then install. So it just literally will add, think of it as a building block to the server, so it gives it extra functionality, and by default Windows Server does not come with any roles pre-installed, so you go ahead and configure your server. That's basically what it is. And apart from this, you've got loads of you can add extra features as well to the server, such as what I've added here, desktop experience, which is basically just making it look nicer instead of being stuck in classic. Group policy management as well, which lets you add things called policies to your network, which is incredibly important. So anyway, as you can see here, the web installation has succeeded, and we now can actually use the server as a web server. I'm not going to show you that in this, otherwise the video would just be incredibly long. But anyway, this is just an overview at the type of functionality you can get from Windows Server. So there's your add features. You've got all of these sort of stuff as well. You can turn on update networking, so sending out Windows updates across the network, deploying applications, all of that as well, firewall management, domain management, all of that type of stuff. And I mean as well, you can go into many of the various different tools within Windows Server. So in which case, if I just go into administrative tools, and then we've got, say, Active Directory Administrative Center. This is basically the main directory controller. And I mean, it's got everything in the one place, which just makes it a really easy way of managing a domain, which again makes Windows Server probably one of the better server operating systems if you are more of a novice towards setting up a domain or a networking system. And yeah, it will work seamlessly with Windows, one of the most popular consumer operating systems in the world. So it's easy to deploy, and there is lots of support in that ready for it, which is important when you're choosing a server operating system. So anyway, let's just look at my domain as a whole. So I've called mine home.local. And you can change everything here, so we go into users, we've got all of these. I haven't really added anything to it yet. You've got computers. I've not added a computer to it yet, but that's what we're going to do now. So if I move the camera over slightly to the client computer down there, that's running Windows XP, and it's currently not connected to the domain, but I'm going to fix that now. So we have got the machine connected up to the network. And basically what I am going to do is just go to my computer and to properties, and we'll see here there is the computer. I'll move that over to this side of the monitor so you can probably see it better. And yeah, pretty straightforward to add it to the domain. What you need to do is just go into system properties. We've got here computer name, and we hit change, and we hit member of domain, and I'm just going to plug in home.local. And then Windows should hopefully find the domain itself. Right, so the issue we've actually had here, it's just come up with an error. It can't actually find the domain name server. As you can see there, DNS name does not exist. Now this is a well-known issue. Sometimes it causes a problem. I had it on my other computer, mainly where the server itself is not giving out domain name addresses to the computers, which isn't a massive issue, I guess. However, it needs to be fixed in order for you to add the computer to the network. So to fix this, what we do is we don't just double click on the local area connection bit here, and there we've got properties at the bottom, so just click that, and now it's just a case of selecting Internet Protocol, TCP/IP there, hit on properties, and this window will come up where you can address it automatically or change the address to something specific, which is what we're going to do. So at the bottom here you will see obtain DNS server address automatically. What we're going to do is just change the preferred DNS server here, so click on use the following DNS server addresses and change that to the DNS address of your server. Now what you can do is you need to go to the server computer and get the network address. So in this case it should just be a case of, so we've got our local area connection there, and if we go there, so it's saying no internet access. If we just see that there, so we should be able to see there is our IPv4 address. That's what we want. So in this computer over here, what we need to do is type in 192.168.0.10. That's what the address was in my case. It's going to be different for you, so I would check on that obviously before you go trying to add the computer to the domain. Now if we just try that process again, the computer should hopefully add itself to the domain and we shouldn't have any problems. However, if it's not going to work, I'm going to have to try something else. So let's try home.local. There we go, so that's propped up there. So we have we need to enter in the administrator's username and password. This is standard procedure, so you can add the computer to the domain, and so any random computer can't just add itself to the domain and get the network resources, because obviously that would be a breach of security. So administrator, and then my password. Entered that wrong. And then if we give the computer a second, it should just add itself to the domain easily. And then what you'll need to do is reboot the computer. So there we go, welcome to the home.local domain. We need to restart the computer to make changes take effect. So I'm going to do that. Restart the computer. And then hopefully when we load up the computer again, I should be able to log into it using the admin username and password. So here we are, as you can see now, the computer has booted up, and you will notice, different from what it was before, you will get this welcome to Windows Control-Alt-Delete thing. This is pretty much the same with Windows 7, it's just an interface difference. So what we'll do is we'll just try to log on to the server. So I'm not going to log on. If we see here, it gives you the option to log on to the computer, so there, what I called it, Jamie Desktop, but you will see here it by default wants you to log on to that, but what you can do is just click drop down and click home. There we go, and we're going to be logging onto the domain home. So if I plug in my address, my details even, hopefully, there we go, it's loading my settings and logging me on to the domain. So here we go, you can tell it is doing it over the network, so it would take a lot shorter time to log on to the local system. So it's just doing it over the network at the moment, which can vary dependent on, well, what speed you've got going here. I've got gigabit at the moment, however it could take even longer than this on 100 megabit or a 10 megabit connection speed. So that is again something else you want to take into account when you're running a system like this. You need to make sure that you have a fairly good network speed, so files can be transferred between, it will work properly as it should, etc. But as we can see now, we are just logging on to the administrator account across the domain, and it should hopefully work. There we go. So we have logged on to the system. At the moment I am not running a roaming profile, which is basically a profile where all of the information is stored on the server computer over there, as opposed to the client computer, which is this one here. Roaming profiles is what are used in many organizations and schools because all of the data is kept on this box here, which is not on the client computer, which means all of the data is stored on here for better redundancy, and if this computer goes down, all of your data is safe on this computer. And generally everything on the server is certainly backed up. Most of the client machines are backed up as well. But on the server everything is backed up, so just in case that goes, you still have all of your information there, which is safe and better in most circumstances. However, the main disadvantage is the speed of accessing the information. And basically what this has done is just transferred the account that was on the server computer over here and moved it onto the client computer here. So everything is currently stored on the client computer, but in theory the two should update each other if need be, if you log into it, but I believe the settings and all of that are kept as well. Certainly they are with a roaming profile, but I think I will save that tutorial for another video, otherwise this one will be too long. I'm sure it's probably long enough already, in fairness. So anyway guys, that is going to be it for this video today. I mean, I've showed you all of the Windows Server stuff, setting up the Active Directory, and all the server features and that. I'm going to take a look in the coming weeks at deployment and how companies get their Windows image out to many different client computers, which is a lot easier than just going around with the CD and having to wait and use the same thing each time. So that's generally what companies even use for loads of client deployment. So I'm going to show you that in a couple of weeks' time, and I'll also show you how you can set up a roaming profile, how you can control the domain with policies, and just general domain help. But I've just given you an overview over the Windows Server client type thing today, and showed you how to connect a computer to the domain, and how to add features to the Windows Server 2008 R2 operating system. So I hope this has sort of been of help to at least a few people anyway that found this interesting. Thanks for bearing with me with the length of this video. I haven't really done a tutorial on that in a while, and I really couldn't see the point of doing it through voiceover and all of that, just because of the amount of time that it takes. And I want to get the content to you guys quickly, so that's what I'm going to be doing from mainly probably now until after my exams, because I haven't really got as much time as I would like to devote to doing video production and all of that as well. But anyway, thanks very much for watching today's video. Do stay tuned for some more videos. I'm going to be having some more Mobile DJs live streams as well, so do stay tuned for that. I'm going to put up a few videos in advance, I guess, showing when it is, or make some announcements or something like that. But anyway, do stay tuned for more updates and information. But thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next video.